Hello, students. You are welcome to the fourth topic of this course, Edu321, Psychology of Learning. In this topic, we are treating the topic of Bandura's social learning theory. Although Bandura's social learning theory belongs to the behaviorist theories, his ideas about learning were more different from other behaviorists. In this lesson, you're going to be learning about the principles and concepts of his theory, the importance of the social context, and how children learn through observation and imitation of models in the environment. We'll also discuss the classroom implications of the theory. It promises to be an interesting topic. Sit back and enjoy. Thank you. Okay, like I said, we are treating the topic of Bandura's social learning theory and what are the learning objectives. After completing these lessons, you'll be able to describe the basic principles of social learning theory. You'll be able to explain the 4 basic processes involved in social learning theory. You'll be able to describe the role of reinforcement in social learning theory. And of course, you'll be able to discuss the implications of the social learning theory on the classroom implications. Let's get started. Okay, Bandura's social learning theory. The theory is based on the notion that people learn through observing and imitating the actions of others. That's why it's also called observational learning. You either say the Bandura social learning theory or observational learning theory. Like I said in the introductory remarks, although Bandura's social learning theory belongs to the group of behaviorist theories, his ideas about learning were different from those of other behaviorists who look at learning as a direct result of conditioning, like Pavlov and Skinner's operant conditioning, reinforcement, Skinner, and punishment, also Skinner. That of Thorndike is a stimulus-response connection. So Bandura's social learning theory is quite different from those of these other behaviorist theories, even though they all belong to the same category of behaviorist theories. So we'll see why. Why? Because his theory is based on the notion that people learn through observing and imitating the actions of others, not through conditioning, not through reinforcement. But later we will see if reinforcement has any role in his theory. Bandura worked with children. He observed that children learn through observation and imitation, that children can observe people around them behaving in various ways and imitate their actions. He also maintained that children are surrounded by many models such as parents, teachers, characters on the TV, their friends, and people they see in the street. Children pay attention to these models and imitate their behaviors. And through observational learning, children learn many things, both bad and good behavior, simply by watching what other people are doing by watching others' behavior. And Bandura also observed that children learn to exhibit aggressive behaviors because they observe others acting aggressively. No child was born with any aggressive tendencies. Any child you see exhibiting aggressive behaviors must have learned those behaviors through watching and imitating the actions of others. This has been demonstrated through Bandura's Bobo doll experiment. Let's see what the experiment is all about. The Bobo doll experiment. Bandura carried out this experiment, the Bobo doll experiment, to actually see if aggressive behaviors can be acquired by observation and imitation. He got two groups of children. One group of children, he showed a short film in which an adult model was beating up the Bobo doll. Remember, we said parents serve as role models, teachers, people the children see on the street, and characters on TV. So most probably any of the adult model was beating up this Bobo doll. Bobo doll is an inflated doll, is a big doll, inflated. That, you know, the adult model was boxing as if in a boxing contest. So young Bandura exposed young children to this adult model beating up the Bobo doll. Then another group of children did not watch this short film, did not watch the film. After the film, the children, all of them, the two groups of children, were taken to a room containing some toys, including a Bobo doll. The children who watched that, the film, tended to reproduce the model's aggressive behavior towards the doll. Bandura noticed that the children who watched that short film were now boxing that dodo ball, boxing it the same way as seen in the adult model beating up the doll. And then he also found out that the group of children who did not watch the film did not display any aggressive behavior towards the toy. So from this experiment, Bandura has demonstrated that children could actually learn aggression by watching the actions of an adult model. It also shows that children can be influenced by watching violent films, movies, or television programs. I think this is a lesson for us, the parents and children who serve as role models to, and adults who serve as models to children, to be careful of the type of things they watch, of the type of television programs they are exposed to, the type of movies, and even some cartoons too may have some violent episodes in them, and we should be careful not to expose children to these violent films. Yes, observing people, watching them, and then imitating their actions. Although individuals can imitate actions, there are certain, it's not automatic that when you see someone, you will automatically imitate that action. Bandura maintained that there are 4 basic processes or steps which must be followed for the behavior to be imitated. It's not automatic. You don't just, see someone misbehaving or see a model behaving violently or misbehaving or behaving in a good way, and automatically you will imitate the action of that model. There are 4 basic processes. If these processes are not absent. If they are omitted, if they are not there, then the likelihood of imitating that action is reduced. One of these factors is attention. For a behavior to be imitated, you have to pay attention. You must be focused on what the model is doing. Of course, you can be in the presence of someone behaving. You can be in the presence of a model without noticing what that model is doing. That's why the factor of attention is important. You have to pay attention, and you must be seen to be focusing on that model, to what that model is doing. That's one of the factors. Then the next one, you must be able to retain or remember what you observe. If you observe a model, or if you observe someone, and you're not able to retain or remember the observation, the behaviors being observed, then, I mean, there's no how you can reproduce it or imitate that action. You cannot if you did not retain, or if you can't remember what you observed. So retention there is an important factor. The third point there is reproduction. Reproduction, you must have the ability to perform that behavior that the model has just demonstrated. You must be able to perform the behavior that you observed. Yes, if you pay attention to that individual behaving, that individual's behavior, and you are able to remember what the actions that are being displayed, then it remains that you have the ability to perform the behavior. If you don't have that ability to perform that behavior, the behavior might not be manifested. Unless maybe a situation where you just copy, like most children, they might just see the actions of, they might just observe the actions of adults, and just not be able to reproduce that action immediately, but retain that action in their memory until maybe when they have grown older. That's why we should be careful what we do in the presence of children, because you might think that, oh, they are too young to understand what you're doing. Yeah, they might be too young to reproduce what you're doing, but the retention of that behavior has been implanted in their memory. Then the fourth factor that must be followed for a behavior to be imitated is motivation. You will reproduce the observed behavior only if you are motivated to do so. And whether or not you are motivated depends on what happened to the model. If you are watching someone observing the behavior, if you are observing somebody's behavior, and you notice that that model or that person you're observing the behavior has just been punished for that behavior, you wouldn't want to you wouldn't want to reproduce what you have observed. You want to be careful and be cautious of, especially if that person you're observing is your role model, is a model, somebody you respect. You wouldn't want to reproduce the observed behavior for fear of not being punished, just like the model did. So also, if you watch that model and that model received reinforcement for the behavior he or she displayed, you'll be more tempted, or you'll be more motivated to copy that behavior. You'll be more motivated to copy that behavior. So yeah, the factor of motivation is necessary to reproduce an observed behavior. And again, whether or not you are motivated depends on what happened to that model. We are using model here in the sense of that person displaying the behavior that you want to copy. So these are the 4 points or the 4 steps in the process of observational learning. For learning to be observed and imitated, these are the 4 factors that must be present. Okay, let's move on. What is the role of reinforcement in Bandura's theory? Like I said earlier, reinforcement has not been mentioned all along during this, in the course of this discussion. I've not mentioned reinforcement, unlike when we discuss the theory of Pavlov, or when we discuss the theory of Skinner or Thorndike. In each of them, you notice either food, you see, even in the experiment they conducted, food was a key factor in the learning that took place, and the learning that took place, the learning that the cat exhibited, or the rat in the case of Skinner, the cat in the case of Thorndike, and the dog in the case of Pavlov. But in this case, no reinforcement is needed. Bandura believed that what is needed in his theory is just observation and imitating the actions of others. However, reinforcement is not a prerequisite for learning to occur. However, reinforcement can increase the chance that what has been learned will definitely be performed. That is the role of reinforcement in Bandura's theory. It increases the chance that what has been learned will definitely, there's no how it won't be performed. Remember what we said about the 4th point there, in imitating an observed behavior, motivation. We said when somebody observes a model and that model receives reinforcement, the likelihood of imitating that behavior is very high. And if the model is punished for his or her behavior, the likelihood of imitating that action of the model will be reduced. So in that case, reinforcement increases the chance that what has been learned will definitely be performed. There is probability that an observer might drop a behavior if he finds out that the model has received a negative reinforcement for practicing such a behavior. That's what I just explained now. Yeah, that is the role of reinforcement in Bandura's theory. His reinforcement is mainly through the process of observation and imitation of others' behavior. What are the classroom implications of social learning theory? The teacher serves as a model, we have said that, for students in his or her classroom. And the teacher has a profound effect on students' attitudes and behavior. In this case, the teacher should display socially acceptable behavior, since they are the role models to students. Teachers have to be careful in the way they behave, being that the students are watching them, so that they don't impact negatively to these students. Okay, the teacher should always make sure that he or she does not condone any irrational behavior from his students. Any offending student should be appropriately dealt with. The use of that word appropriately dealt with doesn't mean that you should punish severely. No, appropriately dealt with means you should use the appropriate form of correcting the behavior of that student. During the discussion lesson on the Skinner, we have touched on this, on the various positive strategies that you can use to modify a behavior. And we said teachers should avoid the use of or reduce or should avoid the use of corporal punishment, which is so frequently used in our society, in our classrooms and homes in Nigeria, most especially. So we should reduce the use of corporal punishment, and in that lesson, we emphasize the use of positive reinforcement or even using negative reinforcement, as the case may be. Sometimes negative reinforcement does not mean, the word there, negative, does not mean bad. Like we stressed in that lesson, the word negative means, it doesn't mean bad, it means to remove or avoid an unpleasant situation in order to increase a behavior. Okay. So the teacher should always make sure that he or she does not condone any irrational behavior. Why? Because when you condone behaviors from students, those watching too, those who are seeing their fellow students as models, might copy the same behavior and also act irrationally in the classroom. So to avoid that, you have to make sure you appropriately deal with such students by using positive strategies of dealing with behaviors or modifying behaviors. Okay, the teacher should not forget to give complimentary remarks such as well done, excellent, good boy, good girl. Keep it up. Like as I've always said, just saying well done, excellent, good boy or good girl is not enough. You have to add the student's name and also the positive thing that that student has done. Oh, well done, Josephine, you have done so well by sitting quietly. Mention the student's name and the positive thing that the child or the positive behavior being displayed by that student. In that way, the student is very much encouraged to continue to do that good thing. Oh, excellent, Mark. You are bringing out your book and reading. Excellent, good boy, Joy. You are doing so well. You're good girl. Good. Keep it up, Joy, for answering that question correctly. You will see that that child will want to give or make attempts to also answer questions in future. These are all ways of encouraging other students as well to imitate the good behavior that is being commended. When you commend a student in class, the others, since we are dealing with observational learning, social learning theory. So in the class, you use more of these positive remarks, complimentary remarks, so that other children who are not yet, who have not yet received such complimentary remarks will try to imitate that good behavior that that child that is being commended has done. And then teachers and parents should discourage their students and discourage their children from watching violent films or keeping friends of doubtful characters. Okay, this is a class activity for you. I want you to solve this puzzle. Joy is a 16-year-old child. Joy's parents both drink alcohol every night. They tell Joy that drinking is bad and she shouldn't do it. Joy goes to a party where beer is being served. What do you think Joy would do and why? Why do you think so? So with this, we come to the end of the class. Okay, please go through this distinction between classical conditioning and operant conditioning. Yeah, been able to get them separated for easier understanding. Because why I'm bringing them up, the distinction between classical conditioning and operant conditioning. After this class, the next class we'll be having is on, what is it? Is on Gestalt theory or cognitive field theory of learning. This topic on Bandura marks the end of behaviorist theories. We have treated 3 theories before. So Bandura social theory, social learning theory is the 4th one in that series in the category of behaviorist theories. So with this, I hope you enjoy the class. Until we meet again, thank you and goodbye.